color, the color one.
The only one that has, I guess, affected me a lot was the mixing of opposite colors and then putting white in
Oh yeah, yeah,
to create what they call grays that are pretty.
Right, right. Well, I was going to do a color mixing demo because also with that is, talking about shades, tones, and tints, which are the white, gray, and black, and then the complements, but also talking about how you view color in saturation adjacent to a color. Like if one color is highly saturated, you don't want to necessarily, maybe sometimes you do, put it next to a color that's equally saturated. It goes further if you put it to like a bright red next to a sort of gray green rather than a grass green. And I've done that, but I'm talking about specific exercise that they can, they'll be doing color mixing, but about what they can do with it. Because I was going to do what we're doing in Nicholas Wilton's course right now. We've just moved on to color. And we're playing, I should show you one of the things that I did to get ready for teaching. Let's see. Because of course this course is, I have to demo. It's not like the course that I teach where it's all about getting through breakthroughs. But this is more like I did this value thing with, the numbers and one, and then color is value, and would have to do one painting that has dark values. This is the value portion, dark values and light values, and another one that's all in the midtone, same composition, and just seeing, how there's a different emotion to each of those, that if you paint it in values, it's a quieter, more subtle, and you paint it, you got all the excitement. But that, and then maybe the next week, translating that to color, just having them do the same exercise in color. It's got to be more exciting than that.
But that's already exciting.
You think?
Yeah, just even the thought. Like when I come into this, I think I've said it before. When I come into this room, I instantly feel calm. This is why I like being here. Right?
Yeah, well, that's true. You do. I've lost. Oh, there you are. All of a sudden, I had my Google screen on and my email, and I couldn't find you guys.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just saying that I know intuitively that the colors of the art in this room are very calm.
Yes.
And I have the red room, and I don't spend a lot of time there. Even though I know I love red, but it's true. The psychological, emotional impact of colors, I think it's a fascinating conversation.
Oh, it is. When I was during my architectural practice, when I was doing mostly corporate interiors, we had the Color Institute come in and talk to us once about the psychological bent of color, because they're doing color forecasting 10 years out, depending on what political or whatever socioeconomic movement there is, these colors show up. But have to, because so many industries, the textile industry, automobile industries, are dependent upon these. But they talked about how no one who wants to seduce a person wear yellow and black, because in this culture, yellow and black is sort of this kind of caution and like, ooh, busy bees. And they talked about how when we had prison overcrowding, and they used to paint holding cells like this pink to emasculate, thinking they were emasculating. Well, as prisons got more and more overcrowded, they started using those holding cells permanently. And what ended up happening was that the perception that came through red, that people in those rooms became more aggressive. And because the red was coming through. A blind person, if you put them in a red room and you put them in a blue room, they will feel 10 degrees warmer in a red room.
Wow.
You know? Yeah, that color, it is energy. It is light, and it passes, and it can be perceived. That babies, you know, we talk about painting nurseries gender neutral colors, but babies in yellow rooms cry more than babies in mint green.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And that they all, you know, that color preferences are more socioeconomic than they are gender-based, with the exception of red. Most women prefer a blue-based red, and most men prefer an orange-based red.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and socioeconomic, you find that people that are likely that closer to the equator, the tolerance for saturation is increased, and you kind of like bright bolder colors the closer you get to the equator. And they also said that that people like McDonald's and Wendy's, you know, have the fully saturated red, fully saturated yellow, just to get over quicker. But that the kiss of death for a restaurant is to paint a restaurant blue. It promotes appetite. You don't want a blue kitchen or a blue dining room. Right? You tend to eat, you know, a warm color is better for the palate, and also warmer colors promote conversation. Blue and green are thinking colors, you know, like if you want it thinking and calming.
I remember I bought a booklet on that subject back in the late 1980s, right as I was coming out of the design trade. And I was just curious, and I can remember them saying things about blue that surprised me. It was like, don't paint a house you're trying to sell in blues. Don't have blue carpet. You know, and I'm thinking, okay, why? I couldn't quite tie that to why they felt that way. But, you know, I guess it now, it affects you a lot if you walk into a place that has blue carpet. I mean, it's a statement, just like red is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that oftentimes you wonder what part of that is because it'd be easier to sell a home that is all in neutrals than one that has too much of the owner's stamp on that.
Yeah.
But I've always heard you should paint your door to your house a warm color if you want to welcome people. And, you know, and I've always sort of subscribed to that, and I don't know. Warm colors advance, cool colors recede, you know.
Yeah.
It's sort of there.
I think with your class, yes, you're teaching about color and mixing, but my goodness, to have an artist think about the emotion they want to convey.
That's a good point, because that's always the kit when I talked about it before.
Yeah, to you know, there's so much to think about when we're painting.
Absolutely.
I think if we can boil it down to emotion to be the very first thing we think about before the rest in informing our decisions, that's a whole new ballgame.
Intuition, you know, is derived from emotion, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to teach color from that angle would be fascinating. Yeah. Of course, it's not going to be a boring class. It's going to be exciting.
Oh no, I don't get boring. I don't get boring. I may put my foot in my mouth several times, but it will be boring. It definitely will not be boring. This begs to be boring, and well, not really. Value and you know excitement, but but painting one in milder tones might be, I mean, with the midtones might be boring. Or at that, I might just demonstrate because I've been going into old paintings and trying to fix them, even though I'm not equipped with all of our skills. But do you realize that we're at the halfway point almost of the course? We're entering week 6. It's 12 weeks, so give us a week off. You know, so it's kind of, I'm already bed. Which is like you kind of go, what? But the courses I can see taking it again and again and again and again.
That's such a testament. That's incredible.
And my colleague here at the factory that said, well, she had gotten a piece of correspondence from a woman who lives in Alexandria as well. So we need to start a meetup group.
Yes.
People doing this CVP after we get through the work because it's sort of like Alexis's course, the face. So I'm thinking of you, Shirley Ann, you know, with the, you know, those who want to repeat this. And,
Yeah, I'm definitely curious and inspired. So definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when was the last time you taught a class in person?
In person, let's see, 2012, 2013. It's been a while.
Okay, so it's been a while.
And the class that, you know, and the time, I haven't taught composition, watercolor, and drawing since probably in 14 or 15 years, but I have taught creative breakthroughs. And well, that isn't true. I tutored one student, so.
Okay.
I paid for private lessons. I couldn't believe it. You know. So it has been a while. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so I'm asking because I know you have your own course, your course, and maybe this will be a good time because you'll be in the flow of teaching.
Yes, it will be a good time. You mean to
begin videoing your because you'll be in motion.
Well, the course topic is very different because this again
it's the whole
fundamental.
It's the whole you know, just being in motion, you know, and I think it'll be good for you.
Yeah. Gotta do it. But we have it'll be interesting. I'll keep you guys posted.
Yes, please do. I'm
just trying, one of the things that is on Nicholas's website is a blooper reel. And watch his bloopers, you see how altogether human he is, you know, because he's not this perfect human being. He's got times where he even said the F word a few times, just a few times.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know, it is funny. But one time we would just get, and I know that's how, when I've tried to videotape myself, I'm going, you know. Anyway, get over it, right? Get over it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Very good. So, okay, so Marianne, will you tell us what you've been up to?
Well, I've been working steadily on the cradle boards, and I got a quote from the local cabinet maker, and it looks like they will be able to cut boards for me. They won't make them into cradle boards.
Why?
But because that's going to put it beyond the price tag I want to pay. But they can beat Michael's price if I just have them cut me a board the size 10 by 10. and it will be a birch covered piece of plywood, basically, a nice surface. And they'll even put a strip around the outside edge of it to make it smooth, like a cabinet shelf is smooth on the front
Oh,
edge.
wow.
I'm gonna find out if that's a paintable edge or if it's a plastic edge, because obviously I would prefer it be paintable, but then again, it's not absolutely necessary. So I'm going to go put that order in for those this afternoon. I just got home.
So will that work since you want cradle boards? I'm just curious.
Well, it doesn't really matter. What
Oh.
matters is
Okay.
that board is, when you handle it, it feels nice.
Okay.
So it's not a rough hewn piece of plywood on the back or the front. It
Okay.
needs to just have a nice feel to it.
Okay, so you
that's
don't
why
necessarily need the elevation and all that.
No, and the elevation is only 3/4 of an inch off of
Oh.
the boards that they're being produced in China for Michaels.
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah,
I thought they
so-
were the 3-inch.
Yeah.
No,
What are the
those would
boards?
cost me a good bit more.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You could always take these and frame them.
Yes.
But I needed an inexpensive thing that I could commit to, having a
Yeah.
lot of it done.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on whether I get a discount from Michaels or how many I buy, I mean, there's so many different ways to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
They've cost me anywhere from like $4.30 a piece to $6.50 a piece, depending on the bargain I'm getting at the time. So these boards that the cabinet company is going to do for me are running right at like $4.50.
Oh.
So I can get 36 for $4.50. And this is good, so I feel like we're doing well here. And there will be some extras that they're close to 8x10 and a few that are 6x10, the refuse on the edges after they produce the 36. So this is good. I've been real pleased with what's happening with that. I do find that every time I get away for a few days, I have to warm up to it again and try to get back into, a groove. But I can get lost in it, which is a key to doing well. I'm using a crystalline wax that's used for restoration work to to rub into the outside so that it's not an acrylic varnish, which is a softer product. This crystalline wax dries fairly hard, and it is a solvent-based product, so you kind of need some airflow around you. But it makes for a nice, soft finish, soft visually, and it heightens the color just slightly, not a whole lot. I got my products from Art of Wear in Canada. All of my fabrics that have been printed with my images.
This is so exciting.
I got a sheer, which I like because it looks nice on both sides. And
Oh, wow.
the question will be, what will I just buy the fabric and do some sewing with it, or will I have them make the product? Because I've read some of their reviews and it's sort of a mixed bag. And everybody knows how important good sewing is on a product. Because if it's less than, I feel bad about putting something out that's not a great thing. So what I'm thinking about is determining a pattern for a pullover sheer that you'd have to wear a bodice underneath. And maybe, here's something I'm interested in: color appropriateness for different women according to their skin tone, and doing an abstract painting. Doing an abstract painting that would allow for somebody with red hair or someone with cool toned skin and blue eyes to pull that on and it be their color.
Oh my goodness. And
I love that.
You just stressed on that one problem solving thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, to me that's fun, and I've always tried to figure out what was right for me because of my green eyes and beige, gold, and pale skin, and the fact that I choose red hair. It's not that I just have red highlights naturally. But anyway,
Are you a summer, Marianne? Are you?
I am a light fall, a soft autumn.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a soft autumn because what you do is you just look at your veins.
Right.
Do they go green or do they go blue? And mine tend to go green.
Mhm.
But I am kind of on a borderline, and not really with a summer, but maybe more with a spring.
Mm.
I'm a full spring.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. I'm a winter.
Yes.
Like jewel tones, black, like everything
White.
pure,
Yeah.
pure
Yeah.
colors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fascinating. You know, you could create a whole brand around that. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't deny, I think that's great. I mean, on Pinterest, I love to find the stuff that illustrates
Mm-hmm.
a woman's color palette,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just to try to understand, because when I first learned about this 30 years ago through Color Me Beautiful, my
Mm-hmm.
sister bought me a consultation while I was in college
Mm-hmm.
for Color Me Beautiful, and it wasn't quite right, but it upset me because I had all these colors that I loved, and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden those weren't my colors. And
I
of course,
know.
when
I
they put
know.
the lipstick on you and they get the right stuff on, and then you throw those colors up there, I thought, okay, well, I guess rusty brown is my color. It's like I liked aqua blue and
Mm-hmm.
pinks, and now I figured out you just have to pick the right ones.
Mm-hmm.
I need
Yeah.
grapefruit pink.
Mm-hmm.
I need a warm, really warm pink, and I really
Yeah.
love that color
Me
now.
too.
Yeah.
It's a clean look. I've finally begun to sort of develop my style, and I realize it's very simple. It's just a matter of picking the right colors and maybe having everything I'm wearing the same color.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, simple, just the right color. So
This could be
it's
crazy,
yeah,
fascinating.
it'll be fun, and this is just the step toward it. I just have to figure out if it's something I want to do. Do I want to
Mhm.
commit to sewing, or do I need to just
No,
try them out, and
I
see
think
if
you
they
should
will?
order a sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes,
a good idea.
sometimes the sewing, sometimes when it arrives, because I have ordered a sample before. At first glance, you'll think it's terrible. After good steaming, good
Oh,
pressing, good steaming, you'll realize, oh, the stitches were not bad. They just didn't finish the job by steaming
okay.
it.
Well, one of the things about being able to order from Art of Wear is they would be a drop shipper. Here's the issue. I would almost have to have it come to me
Mm,
to inspect it before I send it off. So that drops you right out of the drop shipping.
yeah.
But
If you're going to, if you, and I know quality will be a priority for you. If
Mhm.
um, if quality is going to be a priority, drop shipping could be, unless they send you a sample and you're like amazed about it.
yeah, one of the oddities that was in one of the reviews was someone was complaining because how on earth could someone have picked the thread color that they did? The thread
Mm,
color was so far off of what would have been appropriate, and I thought that would just make me crazy.
mm, mm.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would make me, you understand this. This would
I
make me
do.
crazy.
You have no idea how much I understand.
There are some things I care about and other things I don't care about at all, but that's just one of those things that needs to be correct.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, maybe you could also price a seamstress in your area.
Mhm.
You know,
yeah,
somebody who
Yes,
could do bulk.
I
yes,
have thought
And
yes,
about that.
it's,
yeah. I
mhm,
think
Yeah,
that would be the best option to
I
find
have
people
a
call
few
first.
leads. There are some people I met when I was working in the design trade that did
Yeah.
specialty stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
know if it wasn't this person, it would be somebody she knows probably
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
yeah.
she could set me
Mm-hmm.
up with.
Yeah. That's
Anyways,
exciting.
the only other thing that's new is I got on the schedule at a local elementary school to
Mm-hmm.
demonstrate during their lunch hour in the fall. They are
Wonderful.
It's such a cool idea, and
Mm-hmm.
they're asking for all kinds of artists. They've only had musicians,
Mm-hmm.
And after Open Studios, I think they must have contacted everybody in the Open Studios book. So that would be nearly 70 people that they've asked.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that'd be fun. I mean, you don't have to teach. They
Mm-hmm.
want the kids to see
Mm-hmm.
things happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it looks like if
Mm-hmm.
someone is painting a certain way. This is what it looks like if they're playing an instrument. This is the experience of being around that. I think that is a brilliant idea.
It is a brilliant
That
idea.
is brilliant. I love
So
that.
I am on November 12th. It's probably election day for somebody, but I just picked November. I figured it was the safest month to select. So
That's
I look forward to that.
exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And I'll take a 3x3 or a 30x40 inch or something large, and I will work large and loose.
Play.
And probably have, these are not noise canceling, so I can hear what's going on around me. Probably put some jazz on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I may ask them if there's any chance that they would pipe that in. If they won't, then I will probably have it going just to get, you know, a rhythm moving.
That's so exciting.
That's it for me for now. We did talk on Monday. I mean, we were coming up with stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We did mention the possibility of inviting other people. Dee has a friend that I'm sure paints in the vein that she paints.
Okay.
That she thinks would be a good person, though I think you'd have to ask everybody their willingness to make a commitment, because that's a big part of showing up regularly. And of course, Michelle had somebody that she thinks might be a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the person who's doing the Profit Canvas course right now, and she's considering doing Alexis's private coaching, because there are only 22 people in the Profit Canvas this semester.
Oh wow.
I know. And so she was paired with two people who are so green and so beginner that she really wanted, because I told her how much I've gotten out of being in this group and how much I got from my accountability partners. And they aren't even in the same, I don't know how you were paired with your accountability partners. My accountability partners were perfect. We all I was straight creativity. One was mechanic with a side of creativity. The other was with a side of creativity. So we were all on that same side of the spectrum, basically. And she's partner people that, and it's because they're few choices.
Yeah.
So,
well,
God was felt my.
You were fortunate.
We are.
Because we had a very talented person, and we were not talented enough to keep up with her. She had a lot more experience, and the other person and I, we called each other a few times, but we're both mechanics. This is problematic because a mechanic needs other people to do the spark. We have things to offer, but we are not leaders typically.
Well, Stephanie, the woman in our group who's also much more accomplished than either Tina or myself in a different way. She's really out there. She's the friend of Kelly's, and she's just going great guns. But she needed more of the business coaching. And Tina, who's a mechanic, is very good at that. She's done Marie Forleo's B School and continues to review it every year. And Tina is also starting another business in nutrition, which ironically, I thought parallel life. Stephanie's a former architect. I'm an architect. Tina's a nutritionist. I've been into nutrition. Stephanie is now into nutrition. I don't think that we could have gotten three. It was just, I said, somehow this was meant to be when I was assigned them. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But,
both of you were lucky.
I was lucky, but I still am very lucky for this group.
Yeah.
And I just happened to strike gold on both
Mm. Yeah.
But you know, one of the things that I was wondering, and I don't know, I think I told you guys about the program Thrive Studios. You know, I had been in the group for a while, but it was costing like $100 a month, and our group sort of imploded because too many people dropped out to keep it going. But one of the things is that they did structure a recall because I think we're good about. And it's not necessary. I'm just saying that sometimes we get on a roll and all of a sudden I look up and it's 2 hours and I've got people, you know, and I can't do that, you know, 2 hours for, you know, and I'm wondering, it's mostly when Dee's here.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we could like, if there was a format, like everybody, because one of the things that they did in Thrive is said you talked about what was going on, what new inspiration, what new materials or techniques, or what have you learned, and what you're up against that we could all help you with, and that was kind of a nice succinct format, and we went and the moderator went around and asked the question of all, and then returned to the next question, asked the question of all, and it just kept things on a certain, we'd almost, I mean, we didn't have to set a timer, but it was almost that everybody then would stay on track and on focus, and I know that we support one another in different ways, and it may not be that is totally, always the way to go, but it might be something to look at. Just, because I think that there were a few times I go, I really have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I've been thinking about because when we started, we were following the Prophet Canvas. When we started.
Yes.
We're following the format of the Prophet Canvas.
Right.
When we met, there was a specific question, which, and the reason why I've been thinking about it is in my other course, they don't even know that I do this because it hasn't come up yet. I'm now going to tell them. But it's like, why don't you lead a mastermind? And I was like, I don't want to lead a mastermind, But,
you are leading a mastermind.
You are, in a way. We're a pseudo mastermind here.
Yeah, so I've just been thinking about it myself because it's not that it bothers me, but it does. I'm results oriented. I want to see results. This is why I've been frustrated in my own life, because for the past how many months I haven't experienced results, And then I come to our group. Yes, I love the fact that we show up twice a week and we support each other and we can talk about things with each other, which we can't talk about with other people. They won't understand.
Right.
And I think that is the glue that is keeping us together.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fact that we can have these conversations with each other, which we can't have with other people, because they I think that's the glue. However, it would be amazing for there to be like common goals or common accomplishments or common results.
Or maybe, do they necessarily need to be common? I mean, because there was an accountability form that Stephanie had introduced to my little group that I wouldn't mind. I can put it on our Facebook page and see what you think, because it was helpful in just sort of assessing where we were, what we need, goals for next week, what we had accomplished the past week, and maybe it's too rigid for some, but I kind of liked being held accountable. Oh, Michelle, you finished that. And I think it's what I really need to be doing. if I'm, you know, I realize that right now I've sort of taken a temporary stay because of the demands of this course, you know, the Nicholas Wilton course. But after that's done, how am I going to put into play? You know, some people have gone great guns after taking this course. You know, you've gone through this funnel and now you're out at the other end and the world's your oyster. What are you going to make of it?
Yeah. So I've been in too many masterminds to count, so I do know what the format is.
Right.
However, at the same time, we still wouldn't be showing up for these calls if we didn't feel the value, you know. So it's a paradox.
It is a paradox.
It's a paradox. Do we let it continue to be free flowing, or do we bring in structure? I don't know, but it's a paradox. So something to.
Well, can we be? Yeah. Can we be flexible enough to respond to what each of us as individuals need?
I think that's what we've been
That's
doing.
the whole point.
Pardon me?
I said that's the point. Without that, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know.
You know, it's as we talk about bringing other people in, there's a part of me that's resistant.
Yeah,
because
me too.
We've developed a relationship with each other that now you're talking about dropping someone into. It's why I mentioned to the group on Monday, you need to know the personality of the person you're suggesting.
Right.
And that's a delicate thing. I don't think we could handle another D exactly like her, because none of us would get to talk and we'd go to 2 or 3 hours. You know, Dee's got things to share, but she's also tends to get on the soapbox for a while, you know.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think, you know, that what you're talking about, having a little bit of structure and maybe figuring out a way to say about time concerns. I tried to say this once before about being sensitive to the amount of time you spend. I don't think it was taken at all, but you know, each of us have sometimes talked longer one week and not, you know, so long the next. I mean, so it has adjusted itself, but maybe some way to handle that and introduce structure.
If you asked me my true genuine feelings, I wouldn't want to touch it. I want to let it be as is. And then if someone else, I am being I don't like to mix business with what we have. Right? But I am being
that's true.
It's coming up too many times to ignore it, right? Where it's like, well, why don't you create a mastermind? And you know, it's coming up, and I've been running away from it, not because I can't do it. Of course I can do it. But I haven't been able to. I'm not going to promise, oh, join this mastermind and within 6 weeks I can't do that. You know, so I think my personal struggle, which I have received contributions to, has been my personal struggle has been why are we gathering? Like, what's the point? I want to know why. If I know why and it feels strong, then it's something I can now make official and put a price on, etc., etc. You know, and the suggestions which have come up, which I'm sure we've discussed, you know, it's a spiral. We discuss these things and they go away and then they come back. But it's, you know, simply a gathering of like minds. You know, artists are usually isolated. To know that you have a place of like minds where you can share something you're working on, you can ask for opinions, you know, you can ask for feedback. So that's one. The next aspect is, oh God, where did it go? The next aspect which I want is to have a theme every week or every month where, you know, it's like a book club, or without a book necessarily, where there's this ongoing conversation. So it could be about a specific artist, or something to bring some richness to the conversation. You know, and then a fascinating part which I had never considered was, because of my style and design background, to bring that into the conversation. How are we, how are we setting up our studios, and how are we photographing them, and how are we sharing them, and when we go out into the world, how do we dress up? How are we artists? How do we express ourselves as artists? How fascinating are we as artists when we so um so that's something which is being suggested to me over and over again, and I'm listening. So this was what I was going to bring to the call excuse me, today. I didn't know this was the conversation you had. But if you asked me and I'm open to everything, by the way, but if you asked me for my opinion, I think we have such an intimate um, gathering. I don't know how it's going to feel with new people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I thought about it too, because it was more initially for Janae to have the support that she needed in the course, but then I realized, hey, that isn't my issue. Maybe we can the two of us could carry on a conversation. She's a lovely person, but you're right. We've developed it's sort of like when we had this ritual in our book club, and people were really upset once somebody introduced a new person into the book club who was quite abrasive. She was a contrarian. She goes, well, I don't want to read that book. I'm not going to read that book. I'm not going to come to the club. And when she disagrees with somebody, it's like, and you kind of go, okay, isn't the point of the club is to get exposed to ideas other than your own, to enrich your understanding? But in any event, so after she joined, we were trying to tactfully say, okay, the other women that were saying, well, okay, maybe we should have a ritual where if somebody wants to introduce a new member to the book club, maybe we all have to sort of have her invite her as a guest, and if she fits, if she doesn't, and we did that for a while, but then the rules changed, because all of a sudden we had two members move away. One member who is extremely ill. I don't know if she's going to make it, and she was our youngest member, and and it's really sad. And another member whose work is taking her all over the world now. She is never home. She's in Sierra Leone right now. And so we only have 6 or 7 people who show up regularly now. And we find that, we like it to be more like 10 that show up. So make it 12 or 13 in the group. Down a few members, and so somebody else was brought in, and by the same person who brought in that other person. No sense of humor, none. Like, I talked to a friend of mine who I've known 37 years, and I told this new member of our book club, and she goes, "How did she get in your book club?" I said, so, she doesn't know the person who brought her in. She goes, "Oh my God, she was president of the, and I go, well, she seems very, and very, not that I haven't, trust me, I was a member of the corporate world for decades, but it's just, I don't think she can see the nuances. I listened to a podcast that talked about what an artist has to, that maybe in lieu of teaching people techniques and skills, they should teach them how to think like an artist. And that one of the biggest attributes of an artist is being able to live with ambiguity. And most of the world isn't like that. Most of the world has to see things. Well, she is so much that way. It's so black and white that it's just hard to even, like there's no opportunity to like connect on what levels. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to reevaluate how much I want to be in this book club.
Wow.
Because it's changed so much. Because the person who brought me in is one of the people that moved. The other person that moved was also a close friend as well as a friend in the book club. The people that are left, the one who's traveled to Sierra Leone, I would love, but only 2 other people in the book club that I'm really that fond of. So
I think it's challenging. I'm not
It
talking
is.
about my accountability group because that's separate, but before that group, I was involved for a year with a group of women that were intellectuals and academics, and I was
Yes.
just
Yes.
amazed that I was invited because I felt like I didn't quite rank with everybody else there, and they were accomplished in a number of ways, and I had been in a certain way, but not in the same way. I was a working artist, and they got grants to pursue work, and these are all areas beyond me. And
Right.
they had lost some members, and they tried to add 3 or 4 people, and it was a difficult thing for it to come together again. I guess it had managed to stay together for a while, but the right combination of women that moves in one as one and does well, I mean, that is a challenge. And I think we get to see this, and that's why it bothers the idea of bringing someone else in. I thought, now you're going to have to open up and be flexible if this happens, because it may just be wonderful, or it may not. I mean, and then how do you deal with it?
I had something just popped into my head because we meet twice a week. And we did this because we wanted to do the profit canvas and accelerate. This is why, because twice a week is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm actually proud of us for sticking with it, honestly.
Yeah.
So something I can propose, which we will all think about, is maybe we keep Mondays, or we pick. So let's say Mondays are for us. Nobody ever gets to join in. And then on Fridays, we get to open that up
The world.
to invite people and use it as a testing ground.
That's a thought.
But then, so let's say one day is sacred, like nobody gets into the one day.
That's actually an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could, I think that's something, because again, we don't know what we could be missing.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
this keeps us still feeling intimate and safe in our, our pact, but still open to possibilities. So,
Well,
It
why
sounds
don't
like a
we
good
say,
idea.
pardon?
why don't we bounce that?
Yeah.
Past the other.
Okay, and the last thing I'll say, which I think I said that to you, Michelle. This was before I got sick. We chatted in our messages. I said, because of my own personal strife, I felt like I hadn't kept the conversation vibrant.
Oh.
Well,
Sure. Stop that. I wish I could wrap you on the knuckles right now.
no, I'm serious, because I would
No.
like to come to each call with a topic.
Oh,
Even though we share,
you shouldn't have to carry the weight. I mean, I don't.
No, maybe this is
Any
true.
one of us have suggested, hey, this is something I'm really concerned about. Could we have a discussion about this? Any one of us on that.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to keep on coming up with the material.
Well, I've been thinking about it. So
you've continued to show up, and you're partly the glue that holds us together, whether you have a topic or not. You know, if uh, we appreciate the fact that your energy has continued to carry this, even though,
Yeah.
even if you don't feel like you have lived up
Yeah.
to what you want to do, I feel like you have. And you just keep showing up.
Mm,
Another reason why I was so concerned about you on Monday,
mm,
because you tend to inform us if you think you're
mhm,
not going to be here. So
yeah.
I was
Mhm,
worried.
mhm. Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah. So I think, yeah. Let's keep one. We'll decide on which day, Monday or Friday, for ourselves. No one is ever going
Mhm.
to, join
Mhm.
in that part, and then we can open up. We could even reopen the old Facebook group so that if, again, we'll figure these logistics out so that when we have these visitors, they can go in there, see what we've done, etc., etc., but keep the passion still very closed for just us. And
Okay.
that'll remain this way till the end of time, you know. So these are things to think about.
Okay.
These are things to think about. Yeah, I think it would be. We don't have anything to lose for as long as we keep sacred what we value the most.
Yes. Yeah.
So, wonderful. I was going to
Oh,
share.
You should take care of yourself, dear. Maybe we should.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no. I've been in bed all week. Well, apart from going to the hospital, so I needed this. So no, I'm fine. Thank you. I had an interesting conversation which I wanted to share. It was actually on Friday after our call. I have a friend. I've mentioned her before. She's the one who lives in Charleston.
mm,
Um, I have to give you the background because we met in a program. It's the most expensive program I've invested in. Maybe
which was?
it was $12,000.
wow.
Wow.
Yes, it was for a 9 month long program, and we had three retreats: one in Santa Fe, one in New York, and one in Paris. And
Wow.
unfortunately, I couldn't make the Paris one because
Oh,
honestly, what was I thinking? My son was like one at the time. I had no business being in anything like this. But anyway, so I only shared the level of investment with you because we didn't go there to play, right? We went there because we were looking for something. We wouldn't
Mhm.
have spent that kind of money to play.
Mhm.
So she and I were the oddballs. We were both the artists. Everyone else was in corporate, you know.
mm,
And I joined because I felt I could meet more accomplished women who have always been my ideal clients.
Yes.
mhm,
So long story short, we are the only two. This was in 2013. Yes,
Mhm.
2013. But we're the only two who have stayed in touch, this whole time. We talk like 3 times a week, you know.
Oh, wow.
But we had a fascinating conversation, and I was like, wow. So I was telling her about the ideas that were being given to me in the European group, which I loved because I've told you I haven't felt this much resonance in any program. And I brought up the whole idea of the mastermind. And I'm making a point here, so stay with me. So I was telling her about the mastermind, and she was like, no, why are you even in, why even accommodating this idea when you said you wanted a salon? A salon is not a mastermind. Why are you, even thinking about it? And I was like, I want to listen to what people have to say. I want to, you can present something in one way, and people see it in a certain way, and they reflect it back to you in the language that they have, right? And so we were talking, and she was like, "No, but you said you didn't want to do this," and she was like, "No, but this wasn't." And I was getting irritated, and I didn't know why, because I rarely do get irritated. And later, when I thought about it, I was like, wow, this whole online business model, it puts you in a state of impossible perfection, right?
Yeah.
Because my goodness, I have run a brick and mortar business. I don't think whatever plans I put on paper on the first day were the exact same plans that I carried out throughout the entirety of the business. Life doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
right? But I realized from with this conversation with my friend that being in this online space has removed us from the way life works, right?
That's true.
Yes. Um, and this, I've established the fact that this is a very dear friend. So I'm not here to criticize her. I'm not here to bash her. But she hasn't done anything. She hasn't made any movement since we met in this mastermind, right? And she's taken probably the same amount of courses that I have. In my mind, I haven't made a lot of progress. I haven't made the kind of progress that I feel I'm capable of. But I was like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to lead this current mastermind if I hadn't led a little mastermind in another group, or if I hadn't, all I'm trying to say is life doesn't work perfectly,
Yeah.
right?
No, it
And it was such an epiphany because the online business model makes you want to feel like everything has to be perfect before your copy, the words you write, have to be perfect. Otherwise, you're misleading people. Well, that's how I think. You're misleading people, or, and um, I know a lot of things have kept me stuck personally. I'm not going to deny that. And this epiphany just made me realize that I'd rather want to be in motion with the imperfect. Maybe it's not going to be my Paris salon quite yet, but I would rather have another group of women, and maybe half of the time we're discussing culture, and yes, half of the time we're discussing business, and then maybe the next time it'll be three quarters and a quarter, and the next time it'll be 100%. As compared to just reworking things and rewriting things and everything things to get this. So it was such a big wow. I should know better feeling, you know, and I just wanted to share that with us.
I think you need nourishment on, multiple levels. And sometimes you need more of one thing than you need of the other.
Absolutely.
I think the reason that we're all still talking to each other is we needed nourishment on another level than perhaps what the Profit Canvas was offering us. But it brought us together. Therefore, it was worth something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm still convinced that someone's going to implement what I learned there someday.
Yeah. I feel like the pieces are forming.
Yes.
And that it just was, I needed to know about that stuff, but I didn't, maybe it wasn't ready to do it. But, I'm feeling like the embers are burning just a little hotter than they were.
And it takes time. Every good thing takes time. I think that people who come into these courses and run with it, I keep on using Kelly Folsom as an example. My goodness, she'd been teaching and doing workshops and building her list for years. So when something like the Prophet Canvas came along, it was the glue that just put everything together. And then she was able to run with it. But if those pieces hadn't been there, you know,
I
and
think, yeah,
Mhm,
I think that with Kelly and the people who succeeded in that program,
mhm,
they knew from the get-go
mhm,
they had capabilities
mhm,
to understand the way things get,
mhm,
jumping on the technology, jumping on, and knew how
mhm,
to tested package that they could, and maybe I'm wrong, but they were already
mhm.
at least a half dozen steps ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
ended up feeling overwhelmed from the very beginning
Mhm,
on at looking at their progress and looking at what they had accomplished
mhm,
and just feeling like I'm not there. And I think the thing I loved about Nicholas Wilton in this one episode, he goes, he wasn't talking about guarantees per se, but he said that I can teach anybody how to paint.
mhm,
And he said there's not such a thing as talent. It's passion, it is desire.
mhm,
And that's what, and he goes, I can take, in fact, I've said when he conducts his course at this Enslam Institute in California, he goes, I could take the people that are talking about trauma in here. And by the end of the weekend, they would have a painting worth hanging on their wall.
Yeah.
But he said, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be successful, and I can't guarantee your work is going to improve.
mhm,
Guarantee that you're going to be able to sell it,
mhm,
Right.
which is huge. And it's something that Alexis just never
mhm,
understood, that we can have all the skills in the world,
Exactly.
build all the fucking funnels,
mhm,
excuse me, I'm squared. um,
uh-huh,
um, do everything right.
mhm. Yeah.
At the heart of it, your product isn't strong enough.
Mhm.
It
Exactly.
just
It's
it
not what
matter.
you're
And
happy.
I think that was the missing in everything.
Mhm,
In that sometimes she said, "Oh, you can do it," and I'm kind of going like, "This is a visual artist
mhm,
who is letting us know these things," and that was a frustration I had with her course.
mhm.
I had
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a
a
bucket
call
of
with her.
cold water sometimes on people that I said something in that Art to Life Facebook group that I'm sure there were people that thinking this girl has no heart in her. I mean, I was rather blunt about not patting everybody's back just because
Mhm,
they put a painting up there,
mhm, mhm.
and I've been kind of blunt about, you can do everything, and still if your product isn't something the people want to buy, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's truth. I mean, not
Yes, it's
everybody's
true.
going to buy everything that's just because it's painted.
Mhm. Absolutely.
There's there's magic that has to
Mhm.
happen,
Yes.
beyond taking all those steps,
Mhm.
and we don't always have control of
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
You know,
no, we don't, but sometimes we do.
sometimes we do. Sometimes we
Sometimes we
do,
do,
and
And,
and
that's
and
some,
what some
mhm,
people, their work is going to rise because of that, because they
yeah,
have a subtle understanding of
mhm.
something. And then there are people that are going to buy because they want to support you, not because they particularly think your work's fabulous,
That's
but
true.
they want to support you.
That is
They
very true.
love you, you
Mhm,
know?
yes,
And there's
yes.
something to be said for that. We have a very popular woman in town, and she is the most gracious, delightful being.
mhm,
She puts off a vibe that is wonderful. And
mhm,
I've heard people say, but her work is just crap. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, you don't understand what's going on here. They
mhm.
want a piece of her.
Her.
It's who
Yeah,
she
Mhm.
is,
Yes.
and even I would say that, she's run a long way on her skill set,
Mhm,
but it's because of who she is, and they just want some of it. And I can
mhm.
understand she's delightful. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want one of her pieces?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. I understand that. There's no form. There will be formulas we can apply to a point, but the rest is really not up to us. It isn't.
Yeah.
But we do have to play up. do our part. You know, to
Absolutely.
the very best of our ability. You know,
Chart
I
our
think
own path.
yeah, I think this is such a vital conversation because, like you said, with some, it's going to be the work, and with others, it's going to be the person.
Yeah.
You never know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to be. Yeah, yeah. I love it. Yes.
Well,
Well, my dears,
Okay.
a small but lively session.
yes,
Yes.
that's good.
I'm really glad to see your smiling face.
Mhm.
Faces, both of you. Julianne, we were worried.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was worried too, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, it
Okay.
sounds like
Well,
you've pinned it down and now you can get better.
yes.
yes.
Yeah, it's been going on for too long. And I was laughing at myself because on Friday I told you that I was feeling lighter. So that's life. That's life. All right.
Well,
Yes.
folks, Monday, I'm still on Friday with a lot for it or not.
So you're starting on Monday, Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be away on both Monday and Friday.
No, I'll be here next Friday. I will not be
Okay.
here next Monday.
Okay, so we'll save the conversation about inviting other people for next Friday.
I know
Okay.
that Dee said she is starting on her cross country camper van trip with
Oh,
her husband, and
okay.
she's going to, she, I guess, may or may not be on the calls,
Yeah.
depending on what's convenient for her, but she's going to be away for maybe a month
Okay.
or
Okay.
3 weeks, something
Okay.
like
We'll
that.
figure it out. Okay. We'll figure
So maybe it's not something we have to act on right away either.
Okay.
You know,
That's fine.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, Janae is still in the middle of prof canvas. Let her get that done.
Okay.
You know, and
Okay.
again, I'm not sure. And she isn't a painter. She is she makes very artistic
Mhm.
handbags and fabric she's a cover artist.
Mm. Okay.
So more she participates in craft, or high-end craft shows, craft fairs. So it may not even be, we might not even be talking the same vernacular either. But
Okay.
okay, we've got 22 students.
All
22.
right.
Okay. See ya.
Take care, everybody.
Wonderful weekend.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.